There comes a time in your life when you've got to stop praying for things you're unwilling to pursue. A time when you've cried enough tears, talked to enough people, and made enough excuses, and now the only thing left to do is move. You keep waiting for a sign, but you are the sign. You keep asking God to do it, but God is waiting on you. You want him to open the door, but you won't get up off the couch to knock. You keep saying, I'm not ready. Let me tell you something. Ready is a lie. Destiny doesn't come to the ready. It comes to the willing. It comes to the broken. It comes to the tired, to the scared, to the uncertain, but it only stays with the faithful. This message ain't for the passive. This is for the hungry. This is for the one who knows there's more in them. The one who's tired of sitting on potential. God, to act like the opportunity is already yours, even when nothing around you looks like it's working. Stop waiting for the atmosphere to shift. You shift it. Stop waiting for conditions to change. You change them. We don't need more calendars. We need more courage. We don't need more preparation. We need more faith. There's some things God will only reveal in motion. He said to Abraham, go to a land I will show you, and all already showed you. In other words, you won't see it until you start moving. You won't discover the path until your feet start walking. You won't experience the breakthrough sitting still. The miracle is in the move. Some of us are so full of vision, so full of passion, so full of divine ideas. But we are living like prisoners in our own minds, held hostage by indecision, stuck because of lack. You're not stuck because of people. You're not stuck because of timing. You're stuck because you refuse to move. You're waiting for somebody to give you permission when God already gave you power. He already gave you the oil. He already gave you the idea. He already gave you the tools. But what he won't give you, what he can't give you, is your decision. That's your job. Somebody here keeps saying, well, I'm just waiting on God. But what if I told you God's waiting on you? What if I told you the door was already unlocked, but you're too afraid to turn the knob? What if I told you the thing you've been fasting for, crying about, pacing the floor at night over, it's right there on the other side of your fear, but you won't move? You've been asking for a sign. Here's your sign. Move. The enemy ain't scared of your dreams. He's not scared of your potential. He's scared of your discipline. He's scared that one day you're going to stop thinking about it and start walking in it. He's scared you're going to stop talking about it and start executing it, because he knows the moment you move, heaven backs you up. Favor starts flowing, doors start opening, things start shifting, but none of it starts until you do. You can have the vision, you can have the calling, you can have the gifting, but if you never make a move, you'll die with it buried inside you. And I don't care how anointed you are, how smart you are, how much potential you carry, you gotta be bold enough to begin. You've got to stop letting fear dress up like wisdom. You've got to stop calling procrastination patience. No, baby, you to walk. Decide to try. Decide to get up. Decide to take the first step, even if it's shaky. God doesn't need you to be perfect. He just needs you to be present. Because the truth is, there is no perfect time. There is only time. And what you do with it, and if you keep waiting for a moment that feels easy, that feels safe, that feels certain, you'll wake up 20 years from now full of regret, full of potential, full of should-haves, with nothing to show for it but a long list of reasons why you've never started. So stop waiting. Start walking. Force yourself to take action, because heaven is ready. The oil is ready. The purpose is ready. The question is, are you? Let me tell you something that's going to mess with your comfort zone. You won't always feel like it. You won't always feel motivated. You won't always. The one who's done with procrastination. If that's you, I dare you to lean in. I dare you to listen with your spirit. Because this word ain't just going to stir you. It's going to move you. Let me tell you something. One of the greatest lies the enemy ever told us is this: Wait for the right time. That lie has kept more people stuck than failure ever has. That lie has robbed more dreams than poverty ever could. We sit there day after day, waiting for the stars to align, waiting for the perfect moment, waiting until we feel strong enough, smart enough, stable enough. But baby, there is no such thing as the perfect time. Time ain't gonna stop and say, now is your moment. Life is not gonna pause and make room for your purpose. You've got to push your way into purpose. You've got to force yourself into motion. You feel excited. You won't always feel ready. But listen, feelings are not the fuel for purpose. If you only move when you feel like it, you're going to miss what God has called you to walk into. Because purpose doesn't wait on your mood. Purpose doesn't pause for your emotions. Purpose demands discipline. We live in a generation that's mastered the art of motivation, but abandoned the muscle of discipline. We love the hype, the inspiration, the energy. We'll shout on Sunday and sit down on Monday. But purpose is built in the shadows. Destiny is formed in the discipline. You don't become who you're called to be because you were inspired. You become that person because you made a decision that said, I'm showing up. You see, emotion will lie to you. Emotion will tell you you're too tired. Emotion isn't waiting. You're stalling. And time is not on your side. Every delay costs you something. Every moment you sit in doubt is a moment you could have been building, learning, growing, stepping, stretching, producing. Don't you dare underestimate what God can do with small steps. You may not leap, but if you can step, he can stretch. If you can just move your foot, he'll move the mountain. But he's not moving the mountain while you're sitting in comfort. You want the oil, it comes in the crusher. You want the miracle, it comes in the movement. You want the blessing, it comes when you stop analyzing and start acting. I know you're scared. I know you're tired. I know you're unsure. But can I tell you something? You don't have to feel ready to be ready. You don't have to know it all to begin. You just have to decide. Decide will tell you. It doesn't matter. Emotion will tell you it's not working. And if you let feelings become your compass, you'll keep circling the same mountain for years, wondering why you're not moving forward. It's because you're following your feelings instead of your faith. Discipline says, I don't care how I feel. This assignment is still mine. Discipline says, I will so pray when I'm dry. Discipline says, I will still write the vision when I'm discouraged. Discipline says, I'll still show up when nobody's clapping, when nobody's watching, when nobody's validating me, because I didn't start this for attention. I started this in obedience. Let's talk real. Some of y'all keep saying, I'm waiting for motivation. But let me ask you, what is the thing you're waiting for only shows up after you do the work? Yeah? If the feeling you're craving is on the other side of your action, you keep praying, God, give me the strength. And he's saying, I already did. But it activates when you start walking. The secret to consistency is not hype. It's habits. The secret to breakthrough is not feelings. It's faithfulness. I know that's not flashy. I know that doesn't always feel good. But this walk is not for the faint of heart. This walk is for people who can keep swinging even when the crowd stops cheering. People who can keep building when the blueprint looks blurry. People who say, I am not ruled by my feelings, I'm led by my calling. You've got to force yourself to show up. When it's raining, show up. When they walk away, show up. When you're misunderstood, show up. When it's not going how you planned, still show up. Because the blessing is in how you feel, it's in how you move. Okay. There's a reason why the Bible says, be not weary in well-doing, because God knew you'd get tired. He knew discouragement would hit. He knew there'd be days when you wanted to quit, but he said, don't faint, keep going. Keep sowing, keep pressing, because in due season, not your season, not your season, not the season you picked. In due season, you shall reap. If you faint not. That if is everything. It means the reward is real, but you have to last long enough to get it. Some of us are not losing because we lack talent. We're losing because we lack consistency. You start strong, but you don't stay. You get excited, but you don't endure. And if the enemy can't kill your calling, he'll try to wear out your commitment. He'll try to make you tired, distracted, inconsistent, because inspired. It asks if you're available, if you're willing, if you'll show up again and again and again, even when the feelings are gone and the fire is low. Because, hear me, feelings fade, but discipline finishes. You know, we always talk about fighting the devil, rebuking demons, battling haters. And yes, the enemy is real. Yes, opposition is real. But can I tell you something that might shake you to your core? For many of us, the greatest battle is not out there. It's in here. The enemy that's been holding you back is not the devil in red. It's the voice in your head. That whisper that it says you're not good enough. That voice that says, who do you think you are? That inner critic that questions every move you make, magnifies every flaw you have, and rehearses every mistake you ever made. That voice that doesn't need a storm to stop you, it stops you in silence. You see, sometimes we're not bound by chains. We're bound by thoughts. We are trapped in prisons we've built with our own fears, our own insecurities, our own doubts. You can be anointed and still unsure, gifted and still tormented, called by God and still whispered to you all week long. The truth is, some of us have been talking ourselves out of greatness. We've been negotiating with fear. We've been letting insecurity run the meeting in our minds. And we dress it up. We call it humility. We say, oh, I'm just being real. No, baby, you're not being real. You're being ruled. Ruled by a voice that's lying to you. Ruled by fear that doesn't want you to step into you. He knows if you ever get consistent, you'll be unstoppable. That's why you've got to discipline your mind. You've got to discipline your time. You've got to discipline your focus. You've got to train your soul to obey the Spirit, even when your flesh is screaming, this is a fight. And you can't fight if you only show up when it's easy. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is keep working when nothing's working. Sometimes the most anointed thing you can do is wake up tired and worn out and say, Lord, I don't feel it, but I trust you anyway. That's where the power is. That's where the oil flows. Not in your comfort, but in your consistency. It's not about being perfect. It's about being present. It's not about being the strongest. It's about being the one who refuses to give up. Purpose doesn't ask if you assignment, and if you don't silence that voice, it will sabotage every opportunity. You'll walk into rooms and shrink. You'll get answers to prayers and still feel unworthy. You'll get open doors and second guess whether you should even walk through them. Not because the door wasn't yours, but because you let your inner critic convince you weren't. I came to tell somebody today, it's time to shut that voice down. It's time to break agreement with every lie that's been living in your head. That voice is not you. That doubt is not your truth. That fear is not your portion. You got to stop co-signing what God never said about you. If he called you chosen, why do you keep calling yourself unqualified? If he called you beloved, why are you still acting like a burden? If he gave you purpose, why are you talking yourself out of it before you even try? You got to start talking back. That voice says you'll fail. And you say, but what if I win? That voice says you're not ready. And you say, but I'm willing. That voice says you don't belong. And you say, I'm here on purpose. Stop letting fear have the mic. Stop letting shame lead the conversation. Start declaring the truth until your soul starts believing again. You were never meant to be at war with yourself. But the enemy knows. If he can get in your head, he doesn't have to touch your body. He doesn't have to shut the door if he can make you too scared to walk through it. He doesn't have to block the opportunity if he can make you sabotage it with self-doubt. Oh, that's why the real warfare is in the mind. You've got to guard your thoughts like your life. Depend on it. Because it does. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. If you think small, you'll live small. If you think broken, you'll act broken. If you think defeated, you'll settle for less than you deserve. But if you ever shift your mind, your whole life will follow. Let me talk to the one who's been doubting himself lately. The one who keeps showing up for everybody else, but struggles to show up for yourself. The one who claps for others, but can't find the strength to believe in your own dream. Listen to me. You are not your fear. You are not your trauma. You are not your mistakes. You are not your failures. You are not that voice in your head. You are who God says you are. Period. No explanation needed, no approval required. You don't have to wait until you feel worthy. You just have to agree with it. Never fulfill. And I don't know who I'm talking to right now, but some of you are so full of dreams, so full of ideas, so full of gifts, but you've been sitting on them, sleeping on them, stalling on them, waiting for the right time, waiting for the right people, waiting for more resources, more clarity, more confirmation. But let me tell you something. Potential does not impress heaven. Production does. It's not enough to be full of purpose if you're not walking in it. It's not enough to be anointed if you want to apply it. We are not called to just be containers of greatness. We are called to release it. You are a vessel, not a vault. You weren't meant to just carry the promise. You were created to birth it. But birthing requires pressure. Birthing requires pain. Birthing demands that you push past convenience. Walk like you believe it. Speak like you believe it. Move like you believe it. Because when you start walking in truth, that lying voice has no choice but to shut up. But you've got to force yourself. You've got to take authority over your mind. You've got to evict that critic and make room for the calling. The voice might not disappear overnight, but your obedience can drown it out. Keep moving anyway. Keep building anyway. Keep showing up anyway. Even if the voice is still talking, make sure your feet are still walking, because freedom doesn't always come when the voice goes silent. Sometimes it comes when you stop listening. And if you stop listening, you'll start living. You can have all the potential in the world, but if you never produce, it will never mean anything. Potential without production is just a promise. They never acted. And the saddest thing in the world is to die with your destiny still locked inside you. You think you're playing it safe, but what you're really doing is bearing what God trusted you with. You're sitting on something sacred. You're sitting on something that could change lives. But the fear of failure, the fear of judgment, the fear of imperfection has got you in a chokehold. And now your purpose is suffocating while your excuses are breathing easy. Let me speak this over you. No more wasting what's in you. No more treating your calling like a side project. No more saying, one day. Today is that day. Today is the moment where you draw a line in the sand and say, I will no longer just be full. I will pour. You keep waiting for God to do something big, but he's waiting on you to use what you already and comfort and laziness and doubt. Because here's the truth. Your potential will keep you comfortable if you let it. It'll whisper, you got time. It'll tell you, at least you've got the vision. But what good is vision with no movement? What good is talent with no application? What good is oil if you never pour it? There are some things God deposited inside of you before you were even born. There are songs you haven't written yet, books you haven't released yet, businesses you haven't built yet, ministries you haven't launched yet. And it's not because you're incapable. It's because you haven't pushed. You haven't decided to shift from potential to production. The graveyard is full of people who had dreams, full of people who had the voice, had the gift, had the insight, but they took it to the grave because you've got something. You got insight. You've got fire. You've got ideas that didn't just come from your mind. They were downloaded from heaven. And now God is asking you, what are you going to do with it? And don't you dare say you're not ready. Don't you dare say you're too old, too young, or too late. If it's still in you, it's still possible. If you're still breathing, but you have to choose to produce. You have to choose to wake up every day and say, I will not go to sleep tonight without depositing something into the earth that came from heaven, even if it's messy. even if it's small, even if nobody claps. Produce anyway. Post it, write it, start it, launch it, even if it doesn't look like much yet. Faithfulness over time becomes fruitfulness. And if you'll keep watering, if you'll keep sowing, if you'll keep pushing past your fear, you will see the harvest. You don't need a stage to be productive. You don't need a spotlight to be effective. Sometimes the most powerful things are produced in silence, when nobody is watching, when nobody is asking, when nobody is praising, and yet you're still building, still creating, still showing up. That's what separates the talk. That's what separates potential from purpose. And some of you have been tricked into thinking it has to be perfect before you release it. No. It has to be real. It has to be true. It has to be yours. If you wait for perfect, you'll never move. And while you're polishing, somebody else is producing. While you're overthinking, somebody else is out there executing. Not because they're more talented than you, but because they refuse to waste what was in them. Don't you realize people are waiting on what's in you? Somebody's breakthrough is tied to your obedience. Somebody's healing is tied to your voice. Somebody's clarity is connected to your courage. What if your decision to produce unlocks freedom for somebody else? You don't have to have it all figured out. You just have to start. 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 Because what's in you was never meant to stay in you. It was meant to come out. You've been praying for strength, asking for courage, begging God to help you move. But what you really need to do is confront what's been holding you back. Because you can't move forward if you're still running from the thing you refuse to face. See, we love to talk about taking action, but action with confrontation is incomplete. Some of the most powerful steps you will ever take won't be away from something, they'll be toward it. Not toward comfort, but toward conflict, toward healing, toward truth. Because if you're going to force yourself to take action, you've got to first confront the very thing that's been convincing you to stay still. You can conquer what you're not willing to confront. And I'm not just talking about people. I'm talking about the fear that has been living in your head rent-free. I'm talking about the shame that keeps whispering, you'll never be enough. I'm talking about the lies that were planted in you from childhood. The rejection that shaped your behavior, the betrayal that still bruises your confidence. You cannot carry that weight and walk in freedom at the same time. At some point, you've got to face it. Some of you have become so good at performing over pain. You've forgotten what it feels like to be honest. You've built routines around avoidance. You've mastered the art of pretending everything's fine when deep down, you know there's a wound you've never dealt with. You dress it up. You cover it with busyness. You hide it behind ambition. But God is calling you to stop, because the freedom you want, the clarity you need, the breakthrough you've been crying out for is not coming through more running. It's coming through confrontation. And don't get it twisted. Confrontation is not about chaos. It's not about arguments. It's not about proving a point. It's about facing what has been stealing your peace and standing up in the power God already gave you and saying, no more. No more letting fear dictate your decisions. No more allowing trauma to write your story. No more shrinking to fit broken spaces. No more playing small so other people feel comfortable. No more. Because as long as you avoid it, it owns you. As long as you excuse it, it defines you. You can't heal from what you keep pretending isn't there. You got to call it out. You got to name it. You got to look it in the eye and say, you don't get to rule me anymore. Some of us are still haunted by words spoken decades ago. Still stuck in cycles that began in silence. Still building from brokenness instead of wholeness. But God did not call you to stay a victim of your history. He called you to redeem it. He called you to rewrite it. And that doesn't happen by avoiding it. It happens when you rise up, even with trembling hands, and say, if I've got to cry through it, I'll cry. If I've got to shake, I'll shake. But I refuse to be bound by what I'm afraid to face. You're afraid of what might happen if you confront it, but what you should be afraid of is what will happen if you don't. Because what you don't face will follow you. It'll sneak into your relationships. It'll echo in your decisions. It'll poison your progress. And the enemy knows if he can keep you running from the pain, he can keep you from it. But the moment you confront it, you expose it, the moment you bring it into the light, it starts to lose its power. That's why healing starts with honesty. That's why breakthrough begins where denial is. When you stop hiding and say, this hurt me, this broke me, this shaped me, but it will not define me. That is when your real deliverance begins. You can't move forward while still dragging the chains of what you never faced. And listen, I know it's scary. I know it's hard. I know it would be easier to keep avoiding it, but easier doesn't lead to freedom. Safe doesn't lead to breakthrough. You were not created to manage your wounds. You were created to be healed from them. You were created to rise. And when you finally confront that thing, when you forgive, you said you never would. When you face the insecurity you tried to ignore, when you stand up and speak the truth you were too scared to say, something will shift. You'll breathe different. You'll walk different. You'll think different. Because you won't be moving in fear anymore.